come to order. February 27, 2025. It's now 6:30. Please stand and salute the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, it is hereby announced and shall be entered into the minutes of this meeting that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the following: posted on the bulletin board of the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin boards within the Municipal Complex, printed in the Home News Tribune and Cranberry Press on December 27, 2024, posted on the Monroe Township website, and sent to those individuals who have requested personal notice. Laura, can you take the roll?
Mr. Rothman? Ms. Brodsky? Here. Mr. Manesh Patel? Ms. Damiani?
Here.
Mr. Slavacek?
Here.
Mr. Weiner? Dr. Kenzie?
Here.
Councilwoman Cohen? Mayor's Representative, Mr. Patel?
Here.
Chairman Gaffrey?
Here. Okay, Laura, earlier this week, or last week actually, circulated the minutes of the previous meeting on January 23, 2025. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I
Abstain?
Abstain.
Okay, we have two applications on the agenda tonight, and we're going to take them in the order that they're listed on the agenda. So the first one is PB 1194-17, 700 Highway 33 LLC, request for a preliminary and a final site plan with bulk variances. Council?
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Dante Alfieri on behalf of the applicant. 700 Highway 33 LLC. The property address is...
Can you pull the mic closer?
Certainly.
Thank you.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Certainly. Thank you. That's block 8.01, lots 12.12 and 2.12 and 2.13. It's an existing site with storage. It services the Extreme Machines dealership, which is technically located in Millstone. We're here seeking the board's approval with relation to the installation of a 7,000 square foot storage unit. So I have three individuals to provide testimony tonight. I do have a principal of the applicant who's going to provide some testimony with relation to the operation of that area in the rear. I do have our engineer who will touch on the engineering side, and we do have a planner as well. So without further ado, I'm going to have my client come up and just lay out what the use is.
And Mr. Chairman, as they're coming up, just for the record, I've reviewed the affidavits of mailing and publication, and the board has jurisdiction to hear this matter. If I could have you raise your right hand, do you swear that any testimony you provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address for the record, please.
Michael Resinetti, Resciniti, 67 Sandpiper Drive, Manalapan, New Jersey, 07726.
And you are a principal of the applicant?
Yes.
So with relation to the application, if you could just explain to the board how this site fits into your operations on the Millstone site.
We're a motorcycle dealership, and the motorcycles and ATVs that we sell, when they come in from shipping containers. They come in crates. And when they come in, we offload them and we store them in the shipping containers until they're assembled and put on the floor for sale.
So in the storage area in the rear, you have some shipping containers which you're proposing to remove after the construction of this 7,000 square foot storage unit.
Yes.
And in this 7,000 square foot storage unit, you're proposing to take those vehicles and other parts and any other equipment you may have, and you're going to place it into that 7,000 square foot area?
Yes.
Do you utilize the existing area for any outside storage?
Yes.
And what would be stored outside?
People that have bigger vehicles, people own boats with trailers, so those are typically stored outside.
And I know we're talking about storage. This is temporary. This is just from
Yes.
point A to point B.
This is just, they're new and they're delivered, so there's a waiting period before we have the time to assemble and put them on the floor. And same thing with the service vehicles. They come in, it'll be there for a little while until we repair them and then they leave.
With regards to servicing vehicles, this storage area is not going to be utilized for servicing the vehicles. You use that in the main building, correct?
Correct. The storage building is just for storage. Our main facility is where we do all the repairs.
There's no further questions I have for my client.
Okay, thank you. Mark, do you have any questions?
I just wasn't clear about the outside storage. Are you eliminating the outside storage, or what are you storing outside this building after it's built?
So the outside storage is going to remain. There's going to be some, as my client indicated, there are some larger vehicles that when they come in, they'll be stored for a temporary period of time till they can be moved into the front location or sold. The storage containers that are existing now will be removed, and the items that would otherwise be stored in there would be then stored in that warehouse. Sorry, not a warehouse, storage.
So that's like parts that you're putting,
Vehicles.
together?
Vehicles.
Vehicles.
Yeah, the motorcycles, they come disassembled in crates and the ATVs. So we uncrate them, assemble them, and we put them on the showroom floor for sale.
Okay, and the larger vehicles, why are they stored out there?
Because people you bring your boat in, it's on a trailer. It's easier just to park it out in a spot than put it in there. I mean,
You do boat repairs also?
we do personal watercraft. I call them boats, but they're the smaller, the jet skis.
Okay, so
They'll come in on trailers. Yeah, we sell them.
sell and repair, I guess?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I have no.
To understand outside storage of these vehicles, how long are they stored on the site?
It could be a day, an hour. It could be 2 weeks. It depends on the workload, parts availability, things like that. So someone could bring their ski in on a trailer. So we park it outside. If we have the parts for it, it may come in that day and leave. If we have to order parts, it may be there for a week or so until the parts come in.
The reason I bring it up, and I'll have Chairman, outside storage of materials is not permitted in Monroe Township. So is this mostly going to be in Millstone, and is that been approved by Millstone? Or is it going to be because I know the site is split, right? So we want to make sure is it in the Monroe side? I just want to clarify.
It's on the Monroe side.
It is on the Monroe side?
It's not equipment, it's the vehicles themselves. So
Okay.
there's not going to be parts outside. There's not going to be anything along those lines. It's going to be a jet ski on a trailer for a short period of time, which would then be serviced and then removed.
Okay. We would like that area to be shown where it is, because currently on the site plan, it's not shown. Where are you storing these vehicles? Because in front of the warehouse, it's just grass area, right? There's no pavement or anything where you're going to store these vehicles? Sorry, I'm asking you. Maybe we'll wait for the engineer to talk about this, but we want to be clear what is being stored where.
Yeah, in front of the warehouse or in the proposed storage facility, it's paved there now. But there's nothing there. That's just used to get in and out of the yard.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any questions from the board? Yep.
Currently, we're open 9:30 to 6 p.m. Tuesday through Friday, and Saturday 9:30 to 4:30. We're closed Sunday and Monday.
In this rear area, there's no access to the public. This is just for your employees.
Correct. There's no public access back there. 30 employees. 30. In a dealership, we do. So we recycle it, yeah. There's a company that comes and they pump it out, but it's not in Monroe. No. Extreme Machines is in Millstone.
And none of the oil will be stored in this storage area, correct?
Correct. No oil, it's just vehicles.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to have our engineer come up, Mr. Rob Siv.
Raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
You can state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address for the record, please.
Robert Siv, S-I-V as in Victor E, 100 Wright Drive in Millstone. I'm a licensed professional engineer and professional planner in the state of New Jersey, testifying tonight as a professional engineer. I have about 30 years experience now. I've testified before this board as well as numerous boards throughout New Jersey. Satisfy my qualifications.
Yeah, it's acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
I do have an aerial exhibit that I can mount on the board, and I also have handouts. If I can pass them out, if that's all right. Just give me 1 second. Hopefully that'll help clarify some things.
You want it on that side?
Yeah, if you can put the easel to your right or left, that way the camera can pick it up.
You're good? Block you?
Yeah. This will be A1.
A1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Pete, you want to just call it a colored aerial?
Yeah, this
Of the
is
site?
a colored aerial rendering of the site and of the surrounding area. You can float around. Just gonna sit there. So as you can see on Exhibit 1 that was just handed out, the red outlined area is the property. And there's a lighter line that goes through a diagonal from the upper right corner of the lot across the green hatched area. That is the municipal boundary line. So the property on the bottom of the sheet or to the south is the Millstone property, which contains the Extreme Machine building, which is about a 34,600 square foot building, the parking for the site, and the majority of the stormwater management. The triangular piece behind that is the first lot in Monroe, and that's tax lot 2.13, and that has about 0.83 acres. And then there's a large tract, which is lot 2.12, which is about 10.3 acres, and there's no development proposed on that lot. So as you can see from that aerial, the area that is brown is the proposed building, and the area that is green is proposed to be grassed, but that whole area right now is paved. It's been paved for about the last 20-ish years. What we're proposing to do is remove the pavement in the green area and then propose the 7,000 square foot storage building in that remaining pavement area, with the rest of the paved area to remain for the storage of the jet skis and equipment that you heard. And you can see some of them in the aerial, how they're stored right now. That is the application that's being proposed tonight. Just as a little bit of a history, this property received site plan and variance approval in 2001 for the Extreme Machine building. I believe they got it from Millstone and Monroe as well. And it was built in about 2003, 2004. That rear paved area was paved in about 2005, 2006, and there's a 10-foot high fence that goes around that area. That's part of one of the variances that the planner is going to testify to tonight is the height of that fence. But that fence is there. It has the white slats, I believe, in it to protect the view. And that is the storage area that Mr. Restinetti was talking about earlier in the testimony. The only other item that is being proposed tonight is in Millstone, and that is there's actually 8 parking stalls on the west side of the Extreme Machine building. The applicant is proposing to extend those parking stalls an additional length. He's proposing that because he sometimes gets machines in from customers where they bring their own vehicle and their own trailer, and they have a hard time parking sometimes. So we're extending the length of those 6 stalls so when those customers come, they would park there, unload, and then they can leave. So those 6 stalls are just really for customer convenience as opposed to not having them right now. That is the application. Mr. Razumowitz, I don't know if you want us to go through your report, or if there's questions before we do that. You have a question?
I have, Chairman. Yes, you're talking about the people bringing their boats or something like that. Are they boats that they're going to keep, like, say, during the winter storage?
I don't believe it's the winterizing of boats. It's just the repair. Oh, okay.
You should come in.
On the jet skis, we do winterization and winter storage.
But not the larger boats. So they just have a short visit there?
Yes.
In other words, okay. And the trailers, they bring their own trailers? Or?
Yeah, the boats are on the trailers. That's how they transport them around. So usually we'll just pull the whole trailer into the shop when we work on it and then pull it back out versus pulling the ski off and putting it on a dolly or some sorts.
Okay. So you have machinery in there that lift the boat inside the storage or outside? How do you get the boat inside?
So we leave it on the trailer and we just bring the trailer inside.
Yeah.
Or we have a hoist where we lift the boat off of the trailer and put it on a dolly to bring it in. Either one of those options.
Okay. Thank you. I just wondered if it was stored during the winter there.
As a follow-up question to that, where do you store those winterized items?
They'd be in the yard right where the green laser pointer is along the fence there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I do want to kind of raise an issue over here. Mr. Alfieri, I don't think the outside storage was mentioned earlier anywhere in the application. And from what I'm hearing tonight, it is almost sounding like outdoor storage of materials. I don't know if you have to, I think the idea that was presented to us was that the warehouse is being proposed to store everything inside. And there is going to be some display items in the front yard, but I don't think outdoor storage of these boats and whatever else I'm hearing has been, mentioned before.
Yes. I can speak with my client about that, but we can continue with Mr. Siv, and I'll talk to him in a minute.
Okay. If that's not permitted, I don't think you're before the correct board, honestly.
Understood.
Yeah.
So I've conferred with my client, and we will ensure that those items are stored within that 7,000 square foot facility or in the front building, which is in Millstone.
So there's going to be no outdoor storage?
No.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
Mark, do you have any questions?
On a roll?
Keep going.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, to clarify, what was testified earlier was that there are items that get pulled in, stored temporarily for services, and then, but we're talking about long-term storage. where it's not going to be on that parking
So
area.
what's long-term?
Yeah.
I mean, we're slicing this real thin
Yeah.
all of a sudden. I mean, we're going to have items there this is going to become an enforcement nightmare with what's where and how long has it been there?
I mean, we can put a 2-week cutoff on them. It was simply that, because again, a lot of it's just dealing with the servicing of the boats.
All right. Here's the problem. Like, based on the site plan that was submitted and on record, there's some parking area in front, on the side, the larger parking that we thought was, at least in my memo, thought it was, unloading, loading, that's being used for trailers. And then there's the 1-story warehouse in the Monroe side. That's that about it. The question I was going to raise tonight is, what is all this pavement doing on the side? And now we get to know that that's where parking is going to be, of these RVs or vehicles. I mean, the way Monroe ordinance is defining is just saying outdoor storage of materials. So you do sell RV vehicles and, what have you. Isn't that part of the material rather than?
I guess you could define it that way, but I think those portions themselves aren't for sale. It's more for service. So those are, they're I don't think, do you have it? Well,
I mean, do we want to take a 5-minute, I'm sorry, Chairman, but like if you guys want to talk and then we can also
look,
discuss.
just a quick question for clarity.
Sure.
Does the ordinance define the difference between vehicles and materials?
No,
Or
it
is
doesn't.
generic?
It just says materials, outdoor storage of materials. That's why, when it's being presented tonight, till now, at least I didn't hear, if somebody else can correct me, that there's going to be some kind of storage outdoors,
Okay, so
which is what becoming a
if the board
issue.
doesn't mind, we would request a 5-minute recess so we could just clarify exactly what the testimony is going to be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What? Yeah. Do that. Most of the things we can do, we just need them to actually get to the microphone.
Our understanding.
Thank you for your time. We discussed it, and it's my client's view that at some point this was a permitted, I don't want to say permitted, but it was permitted in the zone at the time. So I think this was existing for a period of time. I don't have the zone when it changed, so I can't really give you any supporting evidence on that at this point.
And they don't have a certificate of nonconformity pursuant to section 68, correct?
No.
Okay. So, I mean, so in the absence of that.
So what I would suggest is we carry the application at this point.
All right.
Just because we would like to do a little bit more research into this before we make a determination as if we're going to come back or go to the zoning board.
Okay.
Do we want to carry it to a date specific? Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a short turnaround? Because this is not going to be a...
We'll carry it to next month's meeting. So it's the fourth Thursday.
March 27th.
Without notice.
Yeah, so this will be carried to March 27th, 2025 at 6:30 PM in this room. No further notice is going to be required of the applicant.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, Council, you ready for PB 1265-25 Costco Wholesale Corp. Request for preliminary and final site plan with bulk variances?
Yes, Chair. Good evening. Members of the board, members of the public, my name is Jennifer Mazawey, Mazawey. I'm a partner with K&L Gates Law Firm in Newark, New Jersey, on behalf of Costco Wholesale Corporation. We are here this evening with regard to 10 Costco Drive, Block 79, Lot 20.1. We are in the LI Light Industrial District, where fully enclosed wholesale, distributive, or storage establishments are permitted. We have been before this board in the past, as recently as about a year ago, and we're going to talk about a little bit about that approval from last year and how that's changed in the application that we have before you this evening. So this evening, we're seeking preliminary and final major site plan approval in order to, for 4 discrete projects, all on the same property. One is to construct an approximately 3,739 square foot building addition to the existing cold storage building. This is to add environmentally efficient chillers. And that is a similar application to what this board heard last year. We'll talk a little bit about what's changed. The second project is to construct an additional truck entrance lane, which will include 2 guardhouses. And that additional truck entrance lane will be for Costco trucks to more easily get in and out of the site, which will alleviate any queuing or traffic lineup along in front of the site. The third project is to add approximately 1,402 square feet to an existing break room in the cross dock building on the site. And the fourth is to add an approximate 5,400 square foot mezzanine area to the existing cross dock building. Notice of this evening's hearing was published in the February 16th Home News Tribune and was mailed to property owners within 200 feet of our property on February 14th, 2025. In relation to this evening's application, we do have an existing variance for parking, for vehicle parking, that we're asking the board to, I don't know if reapprove is the right word, but to acknowledge, and as well as a couple of other non-conforming conditions that still exist, that are existing to remain: a front yard setback for landscaping of 50 feet where the ordinance requires 100 feet, and a maximum impervious coverage on the site of 64.99%, where the ordinance permits 60% and 65% exists currently. For this evening's hearing, I have 3 witnesses. I have John Alvarado, who is the Director of Real Estate Development for Costco. He's actually sitting to my right now, and we'll call him first. We also have our engineer, Ed Wilkes from Ware Malcolm, and we have our site architect, Claudio Brita, also from Ware Malcolm. And if the board is ready, I can call my first witness.
Go ahead.
If you could raise your right hand for me, do you swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address, please, for the record.
Members of the board, my name is John Alvarado. I'm Director of Real Estate Development with Costco Wholesale. Our address is 45940 Horseshoe Drive, Suite 150, Sterling, Virginia, 2166. I'm going to spell my last name, Alvarado, and if I can give my business card so if it's easy for you. So,
Thanks, John. Could you talk to the board a little bit about just talk a little bit about the project, the purposes behind the different discrete projects that we're proposing this evening?
okay, so as Jennifer mentioned, we have little projects on the different buildings that we have on the site, and we decided to compile it in one, so to make an easier process, so we don't have to come back here like 5 times and present different projects to you guys. So the first one is the cold store expansion. So if I'm not mistaken, that was the project that was already approved previously for you guys. And when we ordered the equipment that are going to be in that building, the equipment is too big and we need a little bit more room to install this equipment that is actually 3 chillers for the cold storage. So that's the whole purpose of that additional square footage that we need in that building. The second project is the bypass lane installation. So as you will see when the engineers present, we have those guard booths when the trucks that are coming into the facility will check in, and we have one lane that is dedicated for the Costco trucks. So we receive Costco trucks that we operate, and we also receive trucks or trailers from our vendors. And this is going to be basically dedicated. So it's going to be, we call it a fast pass. I mean, it's kind of an easy pass that they have a tag, open the gate, and you can go through. So the intention with this is to mobilize all these trucks quicker to avoid any any queuing that can happen. Like we open in the morning and a bunch of trucks get there, and while you process them, you end up sometimes, getting a little bit of queuing. The idea is to avoid so that doesn't happen. Break room expansion, we're just going to give a little bit of break room, a bigger break room for our employees. And we're going to put a gym, a wellness room, and have, a better amenities for our employees. The other one is in what we call the CWY building. Is going to be a mezzanine expansion. And what we're going to be doing there is we're going to get all our boxes that are not assembled. Our employees going to get up there, storage it, assemble it, and then pass it to the line.
Can you repeat that?
So boxes, like when we ship stuff, right? Like we get an order, receive the order, so we need to assemble the box, so we can ship the products. So that's what we're going to be doing there, an area to assemble the boxes that we have. And
so, John, will any of the improvements that we're talking about this evening result in an increase in employee count at the?
No. We're going to keep the same number of employees. It's just, give better amenities to employees for the break room, as I say.
Okay, thank you. And will any of these proposals that we are applying to the board for, will they result in additional traffic, additional trucks, additional cars coming onto the site?
Now, basically, now is the same. If you see the expansion is not to host more area for shipment, it's just accessory uses that we have in the existing square foot facility, and better, as I said, a better break room for our employees, and the additional lane is to agilize, make it faster and more convenient for the deliveries entering the facility.
Thank you, John. I have no further questions, Chair.
Very good. you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Alvarado. Just one question to clarify the mezzanine expansion. You said area to assemble the boxes on the orders you get. So it's almost like you're delivering it to households, the boxes. Is that what it is?
Basically, I mean, some orders that we have, shipped to, we call it MDO, that is part of some warehouses. And, that is like an Amazon,
Yeah.
right? That you just put, the merchandise that when we need to, right? There's some merchandise that stores that we have here that doesn't need like maybe a TV, we don't need a box for a TV, but
Yeah.
some other items, yes.
No, understood. So you're basically packing it up to send it to the
Yes.
households who've
Yes.
asked for the shipping.
Yes, correct.
Now, I heard your testimony, no employee expansion. To be clear, there's no, just like you quoted the Amazon, like there's seasonal delivery drivers or anything that it would result in, having these packages removed from the site?
No, because that's an existing operation that we have.
Okay.
It's just we're gonna relocate it to make it the facility function better.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Any questions? Yes.
Quick question. In the opening statement, you said something about coolers,
Oh,
Chillers.
Yes, chillers.
chillers. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, because we receive products that
Right,
needs to be temp control, right? One of those buildings already cold storage, right? Like for example, yogurts or milk that we receive get to that building, and the building has to be with the right temperature. So this building that was approved already, it was hosting the upgrades to that building for the mechanical equipment, and it's called chillers, like that, cold, make the building colder, and they're too big for what was approved. So that's why we're seeking the additional square footage.
Okay, so they're not noisy outside
No,
like the
that's
neighbors
what
want
is.
here.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's what
Okay,
it's a building.
That's all I was
Yep.
concerned about. Thank you.
Correct.
Anyone else? Call your next witness.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to call Ed Wilkes. Sorry. Yeah, there's that. If you want to stay, if you want to.
If you could raise your right hand, do you swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address, please, for the record.
Sure. Ed Wilkes, Wilkes. My address is 110 Edison Place, Suite 303, Newark, New Jersey, 07102.
And Ms. Wilkes, you've appeared before this board before, right?
I have.
And your credentials were approved, right?
They are current.
Okay, you can go forward.
And just for the record, your credentials have not been detrimentally affected since last you appeared and so qualified.
They have not.
Perfect. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Ed. Do you want, if you can, please walk the board through the current existing conditions and then the proposed conditions for each of the discrete projects that we're here to discuss?
Sure.
And
I might just get up there.
if the board would like, the materials or the exhibits that Mr. Wilkes is going to be sharing were part of our submission package. So you tell me if you'd like us to mark it as an exhibit.
Anything that the board already has does not need to be marked.
Okay, perfect. So you can just, if you don't mind, Ed, when you're talking about your sheet, just let the board know what sheet you're testifying to.
Sure. Okay. I'm going to start by describing the existing conditions. So what we have up here is sheet C2.0 that was included in the site plan application that you received. It is an overall existing aerial map. So essentially it's aerial imagery. Is the mic not working?
You might have to make sure it's green.
Is it working now?
Yes.
Oh, way different. So I have to say that again, or did you hear me? Okay, great. So it's an overall existing aerial map. So it's aerial imagery, current aerial imagery with the survey overlaid on top of it. All right. So property itself is block 79, lot 20.1. It's 167.04 acres, identified as 10 Costco Drive. kind of in the northwest corner of the township. So just surrounding this property, and for the purpose of this conversation, north is basically plan up, so it makes things simple. To the north and to the east is actually the borough of Jamesburg. To the south is a rail right-of-way, and to the west are additional industrial developments. There's about 2,300 linear feet of frontage along Possum Hollow Road. It's in the LI district. And currently, the site is occupied by 2 existing warehouse facilities and a guardhouse, totaling 1,291,952 square feet. There are 861 car parking spaces, and there's 1,022 trailer spaces. I do want to touch on, there was a discrepancy on the plans. I think they had said there's 835 trailer spaces. That really happened because a year ago when we were preparing this originally, the site was still under construction under the 2020 project that was approved, and it was actually a lot here that has been constructed since. And so that number of 835 was reflective of the old number. Long story short, there was a resolution granted for a variance for 1,022 trailer spaces, and there's 1,022 trailer spaces on there today. And then the only other item I wanted to point out is related to the proposed conditions. I want to point out the location of each of the projects unless there are questions about the existing conditions. Okay. So we're going to start with project 1. Project 1 is the cold storage expansion. Lane that's located along the center drive lane right across from Costco Drive. That's where all the trucks enter and go through the guardhouse. Project 3 is on the northern building in the southwest corner. That's the employee break room expansion. And then project 4 is what we're calling the CWI mezzanine. That's in the northeast corner of the CWI section of the northern warehouse. I go through. Flip it, yeah. So I'm going to go my intent is to go through real quick each of the little subject areas so you get an understanding of what's going on. I'm actually going to start not with what's on the screen, but project area 4, which is a mezzanine expansion, and that's easy for me as a civil engineer because it's all internal. So I don't have a plan to show you about what's happening because it's all happening inside. I think you heard a good explanation. That's where they're assembling boxes and then ultimately, providing those boxes down onto the manufacturing line there, or the assembly line. Just for the edification of the board, the reason why we're in front of you is because that's a 5,400 square foot expansion of area. There's a separate application sent to the building department directly for the improvements that are made relative to that mezzanine. They're actually putting equipment below it, and that's why they need the space above it. That's all been gone through. We pulled out the mezzanine component of that because it was an increase in gross square footage, and based on our conversations with the town, they said you should go to the planning board. So that's there. We do have an architectural plan that you can see it later, but I won't be speaking towards that because everything's inside. So what I have up here is sheet C4.6 of the site plan set that was submitted. This is project area 1, the cold storage expansion. This should look familiar to some of you.
4.0?
4.0,
Yes,
sorry.
4.0.
This should look familiar to some of you because it looks very similar to what we showed you a year ago. The biggest difference is as Mr. Alvarado had alluded to, is that the equipment was actually a little bigger than we thought. So this actually ended up needing to be 3,739 square feet. I think previously it was 2,200. Now we're at 3,739 square feet. One, fun fact that we mentioned last year that I should repeat here is what they're doing is they're actually changing over their systems. It's right now it's I believe it's the fluid that they're using. It's a R22 refrigerant. Costco's going around the country, kind of environmentally friendly, changing their systems over. They're moving to a glucose-based refrigerant identified as R513A. So it's in the idea of being a little more efficient, being a little more green. So it's 3,739 square foot expansion on the northwest corner of the building. And then ultimately what you can't see here is
There is a set of metal stairs that are being added to the northern part of that expansion, essentially to be able to walk up to the roof where there'll be some equipment for maintenance.
And that'll be shown on the architect, when the architect testifies.
Yep. And then this area also includes the relocation of some infrastructure that's actually below the building. That's a gas line and some roof leaders. All of these improvements are happening in impervious areas, so there's no new impervious being added. The next sheet we have up is C 4.1 of the site plan application package. And this is project area number 2, what we're calling the bypass lane. And what you see here is we're adding a 14-foot wide additional lane for Costco-owned trucks that come through. I think it was described very well when Mr. Alvarado called it an easy pass, right? Those vehicles can come through and get into the gate without stopping and being checked in. There are 2 guard booths being added. I'm pointing to one, I'm pointing to the other. They're small, 50 square feet each. They're going to be on center islands, and that's really to be, friendly to the employees, allow them to be inside during the weather conditions and be a little safer than just kind of sitting in the middle of an asphalt area. These modifications required us to essentially relocate that existing grass median that you see here. We've slid it down a little bit south into the parking area that was being used for trailers. And we did that for the sole purpose of ensuring that we're not going to be adding a bunch of impervious coverage. By doing that, we ended up being able to reduce the impervious coverage by 185 square feet in this area. Those modifications also include the relocation of an existing fence. That fence exists today, but as you move the island, the fence needs to move with the island. And then we're taking down two trees, and in compliance and in accordance with your tree replacement ordinance, we're going to be planting 4 new red cedars in that area. We'll go to the next one. And then this is project area number 3. This is sheet C 4.2 of the site plan set. And really this break room area expansion is a combination of 2 small expansions, totaling 1,402 square feet. One of the areas is going to be used for locker storage. The other area is going to be used for a wellness room and some training desks. And you'll be able to see those floor plans from the architect shortly. As part of these improvements, we actually obviously have to provide egress in and out of these areas. The southern expansion requires ADA access, and so we're proposing an ADA ramp as well as stairs up to the doorways. In doing so, we had to relocate some utilities. There's a water line below there, and again, some stormwater hookups. Just have to make sure we're putting those back in where they were. And then there's some metal stairs being proposed for the other expansion. What I didn't mention, and I should just bring up, is lighting. We are adding, essentially the building right now has lighting going around the entire thing. And as we've bumped out certain areas, we're continuing that lighting. So in total, between the break room expansion area, we're adding 5 lights in that area. And then in the cold storage area, we're adding 4 LED lights. Those are single face, downward facing LED fixtures, 15 feet high.
Building mounted lighting, correct?
Building mounted, yes, sorry. And then the last important item to touch on as it relates to this area is there's an existing sign in the southwest corner here. It says Fleet. We're basically relocating that sign onto the new facade. So we're not changing it, we're just moving it with the new face of the wall. And yeah, I think I'll go into
just
review letters or...
Yeah. You want to touch on the review letters, or I have questions that...
Questions.
Okay, perfect. So, one comment from the review letter had to do with landscaping, and you did mention that we're going to be replacing landscaping in the project that has the new bypass truck lane, correct? We're going to be replacing landscaping that's being lost because of this...
That's correct, yeah. So we're building the bypass lane. In doing so, we're taking out some green space and a couple trees, and we're essentially replacing that landscaping with 4 new trees pursuant to the replacement ordinance.
And we'll agree to work with the township engineer with regard to that landscaping to be to the township engineer's satisfaction, correct?
Correct.
Are there any new utility connections needed for any of the projects that we're proposing?
There are none. There will all be service from internal connections.
And is it intended that the bypass lane will result in additional trucks or trips to the warehouse, to the depot, excuse me?
No, I think Mr. Alvarado said it well before. It's really to ensure queuing doesn't occur. Right now, if every vehicle is getting stopped and checked, right, there's the opportunity for the Costco vehicles that don't need to get checked to get stuck behind them. And that could in turn, during a peak time, end up resulting in queues out of the property. So this will allow them to have their dedicated lane to go around. No new trucks will be coming to the site.
The building coverage. So there was a comment in the planner's letter with regard to building coverage. In the current application, it is identified as 16.2%. It was in a previous application was identified as 16.2%, and now it's identified as 17.73%. So can you talk a little bit about that discrepancy?
Sure. Make a long story short, once we started doing projects in various areas across the campus, we had a new survey done. And based on the new survey, that's the actual building coverage number is 17.73%. So that prior number was based on some record documents. We appeared before you a year ago. We were relying on old documentation. So this is the most current information based on the current survey.
And then can you touch on the stormwater management system at the depot and whether we're proposing any changes to that? I believe there was also a comment in the engineer's letter with regard to quarterly maintenance reports and O&M manual.
Sure. So the proposed improvements overall are going to result in a reduction in total impervious coverage of minor, 185 square feet, but essentially all of the existing systems are going to continue to function as is. You mentioned one of the comments that came across in the review letters is to provide I think it's quarterly maintenance logs to make sure that things are being cleaned out, things are working like they're supposed to be, and ultimately we agree to provide those. We've been doing a form of that maintenance already, but that hasn't been making it to the town, so we're going to make sure that that gets to the town.
Great, thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you're agreeable to meet the comments, the remaining comments in my February 20th, 2025 review?
Which was the waiver? Wait, if I can just pull that up.
Does your review letter have the waiver for the environmental impact statement? That was the only one that we were going to request.
So with regard to that, the Environmental Commission is an outside agency that's included in my review letter, and I would say that that's acceptable, subject to you appearing before the Environmental Commission and
Sure.
meet whatever requirements they want.
And I believe we agreed to that in our last application and then did not have to appear before the Environmental Commission? Is that correct? I believe we did not have to appear, but we agreed to do so, and we would agree to do so again this evening.
It'll be up to them. It's a new application, so you'd have to apply to them.
That's fine.
But I have no objection to that waiver.
Okay. And I think every other comment we can, I have it.
Oh, you have it.
I have it over here, yeah. Yeah, we can agree to the other comments.
Okay, so I was just going to reiterate one that's not in there. You have prior approval, so I would just say the conditions of all the prior approvals would carry forward if they're applicable. Particularly, the condition in the prior approval for your preliminary and final site plan, PB number 1225-20, condition number 20, with regard to monitoring and providing inspections report for the downstream channel. That's before it goes under Gatsmere Avenue. It's along, I believe, Courtney Road. It's where your outfall is, and it runs through a stone line channel that you had installed under a previous approval. So I would just want to make sure that that's carried forward and that I get reports. We haven't gotten any in several years, I think. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Understood.
And with that, you say you have a traffic engineer?
I do not have a traffic engineer.
Okay.
We do not have a traffic engineer because the nature of this application wasn't impacting traffic.
So, after you saying that, one of my comments talks about with the guardhouse, what does this do to the traffic on Costco Drive entering your site? So there's issues, and in the past we've had problems with trucks backing up, waiting to get in through your gate, and how is this going to help that, or is it going to help it, and how?
Yeah, so good question. So absolutely, it's going to help it. Right now, I think we're aware that during the peak entrance times, specifically in the morning, many trucks come to the site, many trucks have to be checked in, and they end up queuing onto the public roadway there. And so the idea of this bypass lane, that problem isn't isolated to just Monroe, New Jersey, right? They have depots all over the country. And so what they found now is that by putting this bypass lane in, which allows all of the vehicles that are Costco owned to just skip this line, you're alleviating the potential for a percentage of those trailers to get queued up. So they can come in like Easy Pass, go right through the gate, go right to where they're supposed to go because they know where they're going. Whereas all these other vendors have to get checked in, they stop, they wait, they get told where to go. And that's what's causing the queuing, is that check-in point. So by minimizing the amount of vehicles that have to wait in that check-in point, you're actually going to help get these trucks off the road during peak times.
Great. So leaving the site. So there was also issues that we've had over the years with the trucks leaving the site with their tailgates open, because my understanding is some type of inspection from your guards leaving the site, but then they pull over on Costco Drive where there's no parking and they're closing their gates. Is that being accommodated now on site with this new improvement?
I might have to confirm that with Mr. Alvarado. My understanding is that's supposed to be happening on site before they exit. Is that?
What happened is as soon as they get checked in, So the procedure that they're supposed to do is they check out, right? Obviously, they need to open to make sure that they don't taking anything out from the facility. And as soon as they check out, they close it and they should leave. So what I can do is I want to make sure that that's happened and talk to the managers in the facility so they don't exit park and they close the doors. But that's the procedure.
So is there an area for them to pull over after the guardhouse on site?
Yeah, so there is an area for a pull-off. I'll point to it on the plans here, where they can pull to the side here and allow other vehicles to pass. So this, I don't know how many trucks can fit here, but there's several trucks that could fit there so they can pull off and take care of that.
Could we add some signage to point out to the drivers that they should pull over there to close their gates and do what they got to do?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nothing else.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wilkus, just referring to CME memo dated February 21st, 2025. Just as a blanket, you're mostly complying with most of the items raised in our memo?
That's as a blanket, yes.
Correct. Two clarification points regarding the impervious coverage. Just to make the record clear, the last year's application, that was not the correct impervious coverage. What is you've been granted is 65% based on the 125520, and what you're coming in today, you're reducing it by 64.99.
That's correct, and that discrepancy was something that was supposed to be taken care of as part of resolution compliance with the last application. Because it never moved forward, we never kind of finished that cycle. But existing 65%, we're reducing by 185 square feet, so it's a nominal decrease, but it moves the needle a little bit.
Thank you. And in terms of the parking, I know I heard that it's reapproving of the variance. I just want to clarify, because of the square footage of the building, the requirement is increasing. I understand you were approved last time for these many spaces, but the requirement is increased, and heard the testimony that you're not going to increase the number of employees and everything, but I would consider that variance. So if you want to just very briefly touch upon that testimony and
Sure.
clarify that point.
So we're adding a total square footage of 10,641 square feet of building. Your code requires a space for every 800 square feet. So technically, we would need 14 additional parking spaces. As it exists today, there's 861 spaces. You'll see in the application that we're actually showing in the proposed case that there's going to be 8 more. And so, to make a long story short, as part of a building department approval, we're adding more ADA spaces. It's not part of this application. It's something that's already been approved, and they're going to restripe. So by the time this application comes through, you can actually, thank you, Juan, for shooting that. You can actually see some of those spaces here that are being added. And the note says I can't read the note clearly, but it references that zoning permit that was approved. So those 8 spaces were just getting striped anyway. So long story short, the new number is 869 will be there. So arguably, we have only added 8 spaces. We need 14. So there's a deficiency of 6 spaces that we're seeking relief for.
And just to clarify on that, Mr. Wilkes, so the improvements to the site that we're proposing will not bring additional traffic to the site, correct?
That's correct.
Will not bring additional employees to the site, correct?
Yes, correct.
At least one of the proposals that we are before the board will provide for better flow of traffic throughout the site. Is that correct?
Correct. And
the break room will result in increased amenities for the staff as well?
That's right.
Okay, thank you. We'd ask the board to grant that variance to the extent that it's needed, and I do recognize that it's needed.
Thank you. And landscaping, I know other than that area where you're adding the additional trees, what was approved from the original site plan is going to be maintained and remain as is in terms of landscaping. Thank you. And no new fencing is being proposed.
No new fencing, just the relocation of the existing chain link fence that's on that island today.
Okay. And because of the new chiller, is there a new mechanical equipment that's going to be located anywhere?
There is some equipment associated with that expansion. It'll be on the roof. I'll pass that question off to the architect.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Thank you, Mr. Walters.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to call Claudio Brita. And we will have exhibits, correct? For this, we will have exhibits because we do have a couple of renderings to share with the board.
Good evening. If I could just have you raise your right hand quickly. Do you swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address for the record, please.
Sure. Claudio Breda, that's Breda. I'm with Ware Malcolm, located at 110 Edison Place, Suite 303 in Newark, New Jersey.
And Mr. Rader, you appeared before this board before,
Yes,
correct?
I was here before,
You've
yes.
been approved before?
Yes.
And no changes?
Nope.
Credentials, okay, you're approved.
Thank you.
Proceed, counsel.
Thank you. Okay, Claudio, if you don't mind, can you share with the board, why don't we go through the I think there's three portions of this project that maybe have architecture related to them?
Sure. Yeah, let me start off with the guard booth. I guess that's what we're calling
Oh,
the
so
guard.
maybe all four then. I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to high level. I won't repeat what Mr. Wilkes and Mr. Alvarado spoke to, but just high level from our architectural perspective. So essentially, what is currently now I guess it's not working. There it is. So what is now currently the center lane, we're building an island, if you will. And within this island, we're putting two guard booths. And these are prefab units. You can see here an example here on the right-hand side. One is a grade, the one is slightly elevated just to show context. But essentially, these are prefab guard boots, and they literally come on the flatbed truck, and they'll just be dropped into the center aisle. And I mean, essentially, they just get bolted to the ground, and power just connects to it. Everything already comes pretty much from the factory. I mean, it has heating, has cooling, has lighting, and has everything already incorporated into these prefab units. Essentially, they'll be raised on this island. You can see here an example. And the reason why they're raised, if you think about the process between the Costco employee and the truck driver, there's a height difference with the tractor trailer. So for the convenience to pass the papers through, we'll have to raise them within this platform. That's why you see there some steps leading up to it. So that's the guard booth.
And the sheet that you're speaking to, this was part of the application
It was, yes.
Packet for the board. Okay,
Yes.
great, thank you.
So this is the second project, which is the mezzanine. As noted earlier, we're building this mezzanine within the existing depot for assembly of cardboard boxes, if you will. Right now, the process is being done at the ground level, and is becoming very cumbersome and inefficient in the way they're packaging. So essentially, we're building this mezzanine to assemble all the cardboard boxes. Excuse me. And you can see here, it's probably hard to tell, but there are some openings within the mezzanine that they're going to have conveyor belts. So once the boxes are fully assembled, essentially they go down the conveyor belts, and that's what starts the packaging process. So that's the mezzanine project. Yeah, that's just a blow up of the mezzanine. I think we could skip that one. So this is the third project, which is the break room expansion. As Mr. Alvarado alluded to, we're essentially doing two small additions just to create better efficiency and amenities for the Costco employees. You can see here with the color, we're adding a piece on the left, and then a small piece here on the right. You can see the top plan, which is the existing conditions. You could compare both of them where we're adding the pieces. So essentially it's here and it's here. You can see here with this piece with my pointer that's where the current accessibility ramp and stair is located. So as a result of the addition, as Mr. Wilkes noted, we have to relocate this, which we're putting right now in the front of the new addition to accommodate the accessibility requirements. From the elevations perspective, you can see the darker tone, just to highlight the pieces that we are adding to the building. We're just matching the same exterior materials, which is currently a metal siding, which is a combination of white and red, which are the Costco colors. And this one is going to be a new exhibit, which was not presented before, so we could label this as...
We can mark this as A1. Whoops.
We can.
We might be able to.
Exactly. Please stand by.
A1, please.
So essentially, this is just a 3D rendering exterior showing the overall building massing, which obviously it's hard to tell where the additions are, but essentially it's this piece here on the left where we're adding, and then obviously this piece here in the front with the new stair and accessibility ramp. As Mr. Wilkes noted earlier, we do have some new building mounted light fixtures, which you can see here. And this is the signage for the fleet, which is essentially just being relocated. You know, for adding this signage was further back. Now with the addition, we're just pulling it forward. So I think the last one. So last but not least is the refrigeration expansion. So as noted earlier, this was previously approved, but we changed the specifications for the chiller manufacturer. As a result of that, they increased in size, so we had to increase the size of the addition as well. But as we noted last time when we were here, this current, what we're calling the motor room, there's currently chillers in there now. So as Mr. Wilkes said, we're putting in new chillers just to be more environmentally friendly because the R22 refrigerant is being phased out of the country. So in order to keep the coal depot up and running without any interruptions, we have to build this new addition, put in the new chillers in place before we decommission the existing ones. So like that, there's no disruptions with the cooling process of all the products that we're storing. The addition not only increased in size-wise or footprint, if you will, but also increased in height. These chillers are taller, so as a result, the addition also had to increase in height. As Mr. Wilkes noted, we're also having a new exterior stair, and this is just to provide access to the roof to service which you can see here. So these are the rooftop condenser units that serve the chillers. They are existing and they are scheduled to remain. They're still in good operating function. So they will remain, but we're just providing a new stair to access them and provide better maintenance. And I think we just have one more sheet.
One more sheet, which will be A2.
So this is the last exhibit, which is A2. This was not previously submitted, but essentially just shows the rendering or exterior view of the new addition. And you can see it did increase in size as well as height, but essentially it's the same as it was before. It's a concrete masonry unit, exterior walls, and we're just matching what was there previously, which is essentially in the background of this. It's two tones, which matches the overall building of the current motor room.
And Claudio, that roll-up door, that larger door, is that where the chillers will enter the building?
Because the size of the chillers, as you can imagine, these are pretty massive, so it needs a large opening to bring them in and set them in place, and also to obviously to remove then the old ones from the motor room that's behind us.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
Just following up on my earlier question regarding mechanical equipment, where would that be located?
So if you think of refrigeration like in your own house, right, you have what we call a split system, all right? You have indoor units, which in this case we're calling the chillers. So they're going to be housed within this, right? That's the chillers. And then there's the condenser units. Those are up on the roof, which is not depicted here because the building is so tall, but they're further back. The condenser units are existing and they are going to remain. We're not changing them.
Okay, so they currently exist and they are set back from
Correct, yeah. Again, our new addition is taller, but they are further back. Yeah, you can see them from this perspective.
The other question I have is the guardhouse, the elevated guardhouse you mentioned today. What's the height of it?
The height of the guardhouse itself?
Yeah, the total height with the elevation.
So the height to the platform is about 3 feet, if I recall correctly. But the guardhouse itself, it's a prefab unit. It's about 7 feet.
Okay. So it's as long as it's within the, it's going to be maximum of 15 feet, right?
Yeah, and keep in mind that they're actually going to be housed within the existing canopy that's there already, because there's an existing canopy, so they're housed under that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nothing further, Mr.
Any questions from the board?
With the guardhouses, are there two?
That's correct, yes.
One is for the employees?
No, so both of these guardhouses are for non-Costco employee or truck drivers, if you will. So the Easy Pass lane, as Mr. Alvarado noted, this is purely for Costco fleet drivers. These two lanes over here are for non-Costco drivers. So essentially, this is the current or existing guardhouse, if you will, right? So there's a check-in process here. There's a window here. There's another window here. So there's 2 checkpoints here already. So we're adding another 2 checkpoints, which is this one and this one. So essentially, we're going to have 4 checkpoints to alleviate the bottlenecking that we spoke about for the non-Costco drivers.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. About the condenser units which are on the rooftop, which are the same, but you are bringing a little front of the parking lot?
No,
Stays there?
they're staying exactly in the same spot. We're not touching them.
Okay. The chiller units which are inside, it is housed where the no noise, additional noise will not.
No, from a noise perspective, they're about the same as the ones that are currently there in the motorhome, if not a little bit quieter, actually. They're more efficient.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you.
And thank you, Chair. I have no further witnesses this evening.
Okay, that's fine. I'm going to let any members of the public that wish to be heard on this application to come forward.
Okay, if I stay here? Would you like me to stay here or sit?
You can stay.
Good evening, sir. If I could just swear you in quickly in case you make any comments. So do you swear any testimony you provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address, please, for the record.
Sure. It's Adam Bushman. That's Bushman. I live at 280 Gatsmer Avenue, Jamesburg, New Jersey, 08831. I think I was here the last time. And if I could, I'd like to just borrow one of your displays.
The overall, the aerial. It was the first sheet. Yep, that's on.
Hello, testing.
Nope, it was on.
Now is it on? Here we go. Okay. No, I just want to be clear, because I already had an impromptu discussion with some of the Costco people, and I have to thank Mr. Mark Razimowitz. Lots of vowel or lack of vowels there maybe, but for just bringing up the fact that I think Costco is going to be working on maintaining the spillways and everything. But that's always been a contention. I live on this side near these retention ponds. This is on Gatsmer Avenue. And if you notice, the 2 retention ponds actually spilled down onto Gatsmer Avenue. And I used to be on the zoning board in Jamesburg back in 2005 when Costco first put the application in to build this warehouse that's over 1 million square feet. At the time, we were assured that these retention ponds were going to prevent any possible flooding. And also at the time, there was some contention about who was responsible for that spillway after the water has left Costco's property. I kind of had the indication tonight from the testimony that Costco would be responsible for making sure that spillway is maintained. But at the same time, I had a quick discussion with the Costco real estate representative that said he's not responsible for the water once it leaves Costco's property. So I just want to, if we could, go on record to ascertain who is responsible for that water once it leaves the property. So that's just one of the issues I'd like to raise. And also, I don't think this is going to work, but back in 2021, if I could approach this is some of the flooding. You're not going to be able to see the flooding pictures, but just so people can see. Well, on Costco or on Gatsmer Avenue, we had a number, feet of water that inundated the roadway, causing emergency vehicles to have to come in and actually evacuate us. And this was because of some of the flooding. And my swimming pool was also filled with water and fish and debris. So I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention that this is an ongoing problem. I'm not faulting the people here from Costco. They have every right to build and do whatever they want with their property. I just want to make sure that either Monroe Township's engineering department, Jamesburg's engineering department, and the Costco engineers all talk to each other and do the best within their ability to make sure all this spillway and the waterways are maintained. Because right now it's kind of overgrown, there's a lot of debris and a lot of other garbage that's in there that's going to impede the flow of water. And that's all I just wanted to say.
So, Mr. Chairman, the downstream channel from the that flows out from the outfall beyond the fence that Costco has there, that channel is actually on Costco's property, right up to Gatsmere Avenue. They own that land. So, in the past, when there was a large flood event that devastated that neighborhood and this resident, Costco came out and they cleaned up the channel. I believe they lined it with stone, and that was my comment about the prior condition in the previous in one of the prior approvals of they were supposed to be regularly monitoring that and providing me inspection reports and photos to ensure that channel was functioning properly. Okay. And again, it is their property. It's outside of their fence, but it's still their property. And that was an agreed to condition previously. I asked for that tonight, and the applicant has agreed to start doing that again. Again, it stopped along the way. One of their prior engineers was providing those reports, but now, he's not here. I'm not sure who would be doing that on your behalf, whether it's your engineer, in-house engineer, but we need to get that going again.
Okay.
So to be on the record, as a company, we are implementing a worldwide, I will say, no, a nationwide program to make sure that all our ponds are maintained and are tracked. So this will be part of that as well, and we want to make sure that, I don't know who engineer is going to be doing this, but we're going to be providing what is required to make sure that the town and our neighbors know that we're maintaining the pound.
That includes the regular reporting. Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. So,
and Mark, is there a term?
So,
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to hear about national policy and what you're going to do nationwide. I'm only concerned about this facility in Monroe Township.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying
I don't want to wait for something you're going to do nationally. I mean, this needs to be done, frankly, starting once you get approved here.
No.
And it should have been going on all along. So
what I'm saying is that, yes, we're going to be providing those records. And the part that we've seen in some other parts, similar issues, we implement this to make sure that we keep track of everything and we're on top of it. So that's why I'm not saying that because we're doing a national, we're going to forget about it. No, I'm trying to say is because it's a program that's going to take care of our facilities. So this doesn't happen.
And I do want to just note for the record, having spoken with my client, I believe the inspections are taking place.
Yes.
We may have not been providing the required reporting of that, but I don't want the board to believe that these inspections have not been occurring. They have been occurring. We simply may have not been providing the appropriate amount of reporting back to the township that we should have. And we will, and I recognize that was a condition in 2020. We accepted that as a continuing obligation to us this evening. And to the extent that the portion that the gentleman is speaking about is beyond the fence but is on Costco's property, then that's Costco's responsibility.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, I've just asked our attorney to have some wording in there on this condition that we've been discussing so that our zoning officer could follow up with it if it's not taking place, if we're not getting those reports.
I will make sure that it is included in the resolution, should the board approve it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to come forward?
If I could swear you in quickly, if you could raise your right hand for me. Do you swear any testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address, please, for the record.
Barbara Bushman, 280 Gatsmer Avenue, Jamesburg, New Jersey. Okay, I just have one question. Since I've been coming here for 20 years now, they now say they're going to monitor what's happening. My question is, God forbid we ever do get a flood again, who is going to be responsible to help us? Because we physically cannot do it again. Because when we get water, we get this much water within 30 minutes. My basement gets wiped out, my home gets destroyed, and nobody has ever helped us. So if it happens again, who is responsible to help us?
I don't know that I can answer that question without knowing what's occurred. So, I mean, it's a hypothetical question that we would need to see. I mean, if there was liability, then obviously it could be pursued. But I mean,
Well,
I don't know that anybody has an
we've
answer.
come to every meeting and
understand.
we've talked about it for 20 years now. So now, okay, it's going to get monitored, but if it happens again, even though it's been monitored, who is going to help us? Why is Costco has never done a thing for us, is what I want to know.
I mean,
Mr. Chairman, I mean, like our attorney said, it's sort of hypothetical. If it gets flooded, what's causing the flooding? You know, there's a pipe underneath the road. It's a county road. The county maintains that pipe. There's downstream beyond the county road. You know, so you know, it's hypothetical. It depends on what's causing it, what
Well,
actually caused it.
We know what's causing it. The retention pond is 200 yards from my home. It doesn't hold the water. It overflows. It was faulty the first time, and we have it videotaped. We have it videotaped it happening. So everybody not here because you weren't here at the time, but nothing was done about it. So I'm just concerned that I know it's getting monitored, but if it happens again, who is going to help us?
Or perhaps engineering-wise, what could be done to prevent such a...
Yeah, you need to be with the microphone.
Or perhaps...
He's under oath still.
I'm still under oath. Or perhaps what can be done to prevent such a reoccurrence? Is it possible for Monroe's engineer, Jamesburg's engineer, Costco's engineer to have a little meeting, all three of them? Costco is a $200 billion company. I would think that they could possibly spare an engineer's few hours to take a look at the problem, and between the capabilities of Monroe's engineers, Jamesburg's engineers, and Costco's engineers, they could look at it and say, yeah, there are some improvements that could be made, and make sure those improvements are actually implemented. Because right now, just purely monitoring and cutting the grass around the spillway doesn't seem to work when we get a torrential rain.
No,
So.
it doesn't. And saying you're going to monitor it, what happens when it occurs again? The damage to my home over all these years, as nobody has ever helped us.
Mr. Chairman, part of the monitoring is ensuring that it's functioning properly. So to go look at it and say, I looked at it, is not what we're asking for here. The prior resolution talked about certifying that it's functioning in the way it was designed for the outfall of the site. As far as any looking at this on how to solve some potential future problem, this was the solution in the prior approval, to get this channel cleaned out, get it lined, and to monitor it and make sure it's functioning properly. And those reports were coming in, they're not. Additionally, Middlesex County has a regional stormwater study that they're working on. This is not a Monroe Township issue, a Jamesburg issue. This is regional, and the county has recognized that and is looking at all these streams, and especially in this area of the Jamesburg and Helmetta, where there's traditionally some large flooding, especially in Helmetta. So the county is looking at this study for this whole region to come up with a plan to help prevent future flooding. That's all I have from the county at this point.
No, I understand they're like looking, but my concern is nobody's helping us. And as far as you said in the beginning, somebody was supposed to be, it's never, ever been monitored. My neighbor that lives next door is home 24 hours a day and looking out the window, and she's like, nobody's ever been there to clean out anything. It's never been done.
Chairman, I'll take it a step further. I'd ask the applicant, engineer, or the applicant to arrange a meeting with my office and their engineer to go look at this channel, similar to what we've done, a few years back when it got cleaned out. It may need to be cleaned out again, maybe relined with stone, and to ensure that it's functioning properly. So I'd ask that that be part of any approval, that condition.
And it's not even a matter, that it is a matter of that. It is a matter of it being cleaned out. But the problem is, when we have a major storm, there's nowhere for the water to go, because it used to be all dirt mines and forest, and now it's all asphalt and concrete and buildings. There's nowhere for the water to go. And they just keep building and building and building. And we just keep getting more water. So that's my concern. I understand everybody wants to monitor it, but that's not helping us. That's not stopping the problem. It's not fixing the damage to my home.
Chairman, there's no new impervious coverage being built as part of this application, slightly reduced or the same. Previous construction out there that was just finished up, I believe, when they did the parking areas, made some improvements to the upper basins to more efficiently handle the stormwater runoff.
Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no objection to the condition proposed by the board's engineer with regard to a meeting with the Costco's engineer, board's engineer, and to go inspect together the area that we're talking about and determine whether or not it's operating properly. We have no objection to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to be heard?
You could raise your right hand for me. Do you swear any testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. George Gunkelman, 5 Keller Court, Monroe, Gunkelman. I'm not too sure how much the discussion about the water has to do with this particular application, but, clearly the original design parameters are that the outflow of water from the site should not exceed what it was prior to development, so that the detention ponds that were built were supposed to be, or intended to be, designed to be of a capacity that it would release it at no higher rate than the previous level. Now, weather conditions have changed, which is why Mark was pointing to the regional study that's being done. But it well may be that those ponds need to have some increased capacity. And while it's not part of this application, there should be some gesture of willingness on Costco's part to participate in any solution that the township and the county and Costco's engineers might come up with. And maybe that could be part of the thing, but because for whatever reason, and it's probably just increased, it's not the only place in the township that's experienced flooding for the first time in areas. But, it's a problem, and it shouldn't be passed on to neighboring homeowners. It's just not right or fair. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to be heard? Okay, is there a motion to close the public?
I'll make a motion to close the public portion.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, council, is there anything else?
No, we would just ask the board's consideration of our application this evening, which we think will be benefit to the community, benefit to the employees for Costco, will better the circulation at the site and alleviate any particular traffic concerns that may be existing today. Overall, we think it's a very positive project, and we hope the board will look favorably upon our application.
And subject to the meeting that.
Subject to the conditions that have been discussed this evening, both in the reports of the board's professionals and discussed specifically as it relates to those stormwater management issues that have been talked
I
about.
understand part of your application, you're 6 parking spots shy and you're looking for.
So we're 6 parking spaces shy of what the additional, what our project this evening would require as far as number of parking spaces. So we are seeking a variance.
Okay, so I
From
just
the
want to be
board.
clear what you're asking.
Yes, we are seeking a variance from the board for that, and we are also seeking recognition of the pre-existing non-conforming conditions that are at the property, including the landscaping buffer and the impervious cover amount.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion anybody had?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion?
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion on the board or with the professionals? Hearing none.
Ready? Ms. Brodsky? Ms. Brodsky?
Yes.
Ms. Damiani?
Yes.
Mr. Slavacek?
Yes.
Dr. Kenzie?
Yes.
Mayor's Representative, Mr. Patel?
Yes.
Chairman Gaffrey?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you for the time.
Okay, moving on the agenda, under memorialization, I don't see any. Going to a public portion, is there any member of the public that wish to be heard on any topic?
You keep with you.
Hearing none, is there a motion to close the public portion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, discussion items, I don't see any on the agenda. Is any discussion items people wish to raise? Hearing none, I see no correspondence, so we move to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned.